We're from the town with the great football team. We cheer the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hey guys, welcome to Picksburgh. Thank you for joining me for another one of these podcasts. Today with me on Pickin Brains, I have a really good friend of mine, Leroy, aka Blood, Sweat, and Sail, on both YouTube and on Instagram. Big shout out to this man. I was going to grab his links for this podcast, and man, you got 70 subscribers and you don't even got one video out yet on YouTube.
Yes, sir.
I need to do whatever this guy's doing. Guys, if you haven't already, I'm going to have his YouTube channel and his Instagram link down below. Go and give him a follow. I'd really appreciate that. He does a lot of really great content over on Instagram, really inspiring stuff. So definitely go and follow his Instagram if you haven't already. And I'm this guy to put out some YouTube content too, because I think there's 69 other people that would like to see a video. But I really appreciate you coming on with me today, Leroy. I really wanted to take a minute and just talk with you about a few things. Just basically for anyone that's not familiar with you, that hasn't followed you through the community, could you just give us a rundown of who you are, what you do, that kind of stuff? That'd be awesome.
I'm Leroy, Blood, Sweat, and Cell. My last name is Blood. That's why the Blood, Sweat, and Cell comes in. I don't share that all the time, but I'll share that on this channel here. I've been selling for a long time. eBay, swap meets, flea markets, just wherever I can make a couple of dollars, and I really enjoy it. And then I was very fortunate to be able to get into this community. This community is amazing. People like the gentleman that we have here. I mean, these guys are just, they're really, really good people, and I don't mind coming on channels and teaching people stuff and learning as well from you guys.
Definitely, man. One thing I've noticed is you're super knowledgeable when it comes to flea markets, tolls, and a bunch of other things. But one thing that really drew my eye to you is flea markets, because I'm a flea market seller myself. How long have you been selling at flea markets, and what kind of got you into that?
Started selling, I'm going to say swap meets first, because for a while it was swap meets, and I do like 3 or 4 a year. If no one knows what a swap meet is, it's a glorified flea market for whatever preference that, whoever puts it on does. So there'll be like gun swap meets, and there'll be, car swap meets, and there could be cooking swap meets and sewing swap meets, and, glassware swap meets. Like, you really have to look into it, guys, because you're missing the boat. And it's not a big thing that a lot of people like put out there. Like, it's out there, and a lot of people know about it, but a lot of people don't. So don't be afraid to look into swap meets in whatever your niche is, and you might find it, you might not. So yeah. I've been doing swap meets for a long time, and then I started doing flea markets locally in my area.
Now, just out of curiosity, because here in Pennsylvania, we have flea markets, and I've always heard people say swap meets too, but we've never actually called any of them swap meets here. So there actually is a difference between a swap meet and a flea market.
It's sort of like whatever the niche is of who's putting it on. So
okay,
believe it or not, and I'd love to, hopefully one day we'll talk offline. You have one of the best swap meets in your state, and it's Carlisle. In Carlisle, they have a swap meet that holds about, please don't get me wrong if I'm wrong on this, guys, but probably holds about 500 to 600 vendors, maybe 1,000 vendors, and they do it twice a year, and it takes you 3 days to walk through it. So that's something that you want to look out for. They also have swap meets up in New England, where I was born and raised.
So yeah, you said the main difference is the swap meet is more of a niche down type of flea market. So if it was like tolls, it would be basically a whole bunch of people bring tolls, or if it was toys, it would be like all toys and just basically all like the same sort of thing.
Yeah, and when you get into other things, they call it like a trade show. So they'll call it a baseball card trade show. Yeah. Swap meet, trade show. They're all very similar.
Okay. So you actually got your start with swap meets before you did flea markets?
Yep.
What was the items that you were selling?
So I had a landscape business. I started when I was 16. So I would recycle my equipment through the swap meet. So I'd sell stuff that was getting a little old and put that money towards new stuff.
Okay.
So it started off with like power tools, and then it ended up being hand tools. I love hand tools.
So was that the first business you ever had, landscaping?
Yeah, I did landscaping for about 15 years or so. I started when I was 16. I used to push a little mower, and I had like probably, no exaggerating, I had about 8 on each street, and I had like 5 streets.
Wow.
Yeah, I was the little boy that everybody, and then once I got better, I'd get the better houses. When I started, I got the the bottom of the barrel with the dog poop. But then as I got better, I started getting better houses.
That's awesome, man. What made you get out of landscaping?
Probably the work, and it was getting to be where you're chasing money.
Uh-huh.
So when you do a lot of residential,
Yeah.
it's your word against theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll say, oh yeah, we'll pay you, and they'll pay you a little bit, and then they won't pay you. And if they don't want to pay you, it's not worth taking them to court for $400. And you have employees. I had 2 employees and 2 trucks. Mm-hmm. So, if I wasn't getting my money, somebody shortchanged me a couple times a month. Well, a couple times a month, that's $1,000. And, I have employees to pay and bills to pay. And I always had other jobs as well. I mean, I've just always worked a lot.
Have you had any other businesses besides your reselling business?
No, just the reselling and the landscaping.
How long have you been reselling for?
About 20 years.
Well, what got you into it? Just the fact that you were trying to upgrade your landscaping equipment?
Yeah, I have friends around me that would tell me, older gentlemen, oh, you got to go check out this swap meet. It's going to be in a couple, because they're only a couple times a year. Some of them, like, oh, you got to come, check out this. I was like, yeah. And I checked it out and I just fell in love with it. Then I started doing flea markets. And I was just selling in the beginning with flea markets. I was just selling whatever I can get at a yard sale for, at the end of the day. I'd go at the end. I'd drive around at 12 o'clock and be like, hey, what do you got left? I'll give you $40 for the whole table or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then people would tell me, like, oh, you're shopping the wrong way. Like, what do you mean? They were like, you need to go to auctions. Like, auctions. So, a lot of you guys might know this name, but one of my key ways to find auctions still to this day is Auctions. I sort of have Auctions up on Redial, and that's what I like to use. A lot of the new ones, I don't even use them, like high bid and stuff. I just use Auctions up. They don't do single lots like a lot of. They do, but I've never got on that side. But I do a lot of estate auctions, not estate sales, estate auctions.
That's really cool. So do you get everything in the estate?
Nope. They put it in box lots.
Okay. Gotcha.
But they'll do glassware and they'll do kitchenware and they'll do closets and some of the stuff will go piece by piece and some of it goes at box lots.
Yeah, that's an awesome way to source, especially with like COVID and everything like that. I never even thought of doing something like that.
It is, and both of us are Christian men. I don't like to say this, but there's going to be a lot of estate auctions coming up in February, April because of what we've been going through as a country. So I'm not going to really get into that. But what we've been going through, a lot of unnecessary lives were lost. Yeah. And it's mainly, like estates and stuff. And people don't realize that, like, they're not going to have a estate sale. They're not going to have them in November, December. Usually what happens is a family gets together for the holidays and they discuss, okay, well, we're going to go through my guy. This is Billy Jean's auction house. And they get it all set up. And they usually get them set up for like April or May. And then what you do is you the auction and you load up what you can, but there's a lot of them. And then when you find one that you like, guys, make sure that you keep contact with that house. And, if you see the auctioneer and he seems nice to you, throw him a Dunkin' Donuts card or Starbucks card and just say, hey, thank you. Your auction was really good. Can you put me on the mailing list? Or if you have one just for tools or just for baseball cards, could you please give me a little heads up?
Yeah, that's awesome. I need to find some good auction connections here in Pittsburgh because, like, even Nate was saying it's like a secret society around here trying to find any like kind of local live auctions. Like if you want to go online, you can find auctions everywhere. But as far as like going and like actually getting to meet people and have those connections, it's really hard in this area.
And a lot of people don't realize, like I had mentioned, people are like, oh, well, why do they do it like that? Why do they have to have an auction? Because it's a legal transaction. Mm-hmm. So because someone has passed, it sort of has to be that legal transaction. I've literally bid on stuff with people's grandsons. Everybody has the same certain stuff. That's what they do. Like everybody has to bid on, if you're a grandson or son-in-law, you got to bid just like I do, being an outsider, because it's a legal thing. And then it all gets split up that way. So there's no favoritism. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't realize that happens a lot. Like estate auctions are a really big thing because it's a legal trend. It's like a legal transaction.
Now, for the estate auctions, are these ones that haven't even gone to like estate sale? Is it basically just people that don't even want to deal with the headache of an estate sale, so they just throw it up at an online auction? Or is it like the leftovers of an estate sale?
No. I'm going to be honest with you. Like I just said, it's a lot of it is a legal transaction. So it has to go through an estate auction.
Okay.
Because everybody has to have a shot. So it's not like a estate sale. It's an estate auction, and whatever money at the end, sometimes it doesn't even go to the family. It goes to whoever represents the family, whatever lawyer or whatever represents the family, then it gets separated. So it's prime picking, you know. And like I said, I'm bidding against people that are relatives, and they have to do the same as me. So I feel that, you know, some of them, that's what I said, when you guys find a good auctioneer, stick with him and stick with where he has an auction. And if he's a good auctioneer, he'll have like 3 or 4 a month.
That's awesome. And I'm definitely going to pop on AuctionZip later and see if I can find some local stuff. Because if nothing else, I think it'd be even a cool video just to go and be a part of one. I don't know if they're doing a whole lot of, have you noticed a lot of local ones like with COVID going on?
So I'm still transitioning from New England to South Carolina. So I'm still trying to move old stock. That's why I've been doing so much of the flea markets. I haven't been sourcing as much at the estate auction, but there definitely is. Like I said, it's going to start slowing down now. Now you're going to start seeing Christmas auctions. It slows down now, and a lot of times they have to wait until the next year to see which route they're going to go, and they finalize the contract. It's like a contract. Like, it's a big deal, guys. It's not something that they just decide to do. Like, it's contract. It's all through with lawyers and stuff like that. So again, don't be afraid, and you're going to find, I'm going to let you guys know right now, you're going to find every 10 auctions you go to, you might only like 4. And then that's why I say, when you find that one you like, or those couple that you like, stick with them and talk to them. And this is the first I've really talked about the estate auctions on YouTube, so you guys have an exclusive over here.
Appreciate the exclusive, man. Being that you're in South Carolina, do you do it year round?
Yeah, it gets a little chilly in the winter, but up in Rhode Island, I was only able to do it from the end of April to November. Down here in South Carolina, that's one of the reasons why I chose where I moved, was because I can do the flea markets full time, almost year round.
Do you have a booth there, or do you just
no? I'm a gypsy. You know, they don't like to hear that word, but that's sort of what I am. I don't go to the same flea market twice if I don't have to. Sometimes, you know, time consuming, or if I'm just late, I'll have to go to the same one twice in a month. But I try not to go 3 times to the same one in a month. Okay. And I have certain ones I go to on Saturdays, and certain ones that I'll go to on Sundays. You know, certain ones do better on those certain days. And then you also hit different demographics. Yes, like there's different types of people. There's different nationalities at certain ones. The one I was at yesterday, there's a lot of Spanish. The one that I was at on Saturday, there's a mixture, a good mixture. You get blacks, you get a lot of country people, and you get some Spanish. But it's good to switch around, in my eyes, than get a booth. If you can do that, I mean, because when you get a booth, they're just gonna walk by. You know, you're gonna get your sales, absolutely, but they're gonna walk by and they're gonna say, "Oh, I'll get him next time. He'll be here next week." And I won't be here next week. I mean, probably within the last year, I've sold this is my biggest year, flea market wise. I've probably sold at 11 different flea markets, which is pretty big.
That's awesome, man. How far do you have to drive to hit all those different flea markets?
I do travel back and forth from New England to South Carolina once a year. So I'll do some in New Jersey. I'll do some in Virginia, Rhode Island, Massachusetts.
Have you ever done Seekonk?
How do you know about Seekonk?
Oh, dude, Seekonk is awesome. I actually have a video on my channel from Seekonk.
From Seekonk Speedway?
Yeah, right by the Speedway, the little flea market there.
That's my home flea market. Like, that's my home flea market.
Dude, I wonder if you were there the day I went. Do you know who NASCAR Man is?
You went with Derek. Do you know? So you went to go meet Derek. I've known Derek since I was 9. His father used to run the Popwana Football League that I was in.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. But you just tell him Leroy. He knows. He knows me very well. Yep.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah.
Dude, that would have been awesome. Like, had I known you then, you know. everything.
Well, was it this summer?
No, this was, I want to say, almost 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago.
If it was a year and a half ago, I was away for a while because I was living in Martha's Vineyard. So I wasn't doing flea markets as much. I was doing mainly eBay, probably in Massachusetts and Martha's Vineyard at that time.
It was one of my favorite flea markets I've ever been to. I went up there because that was the year, or not the year, but the time of year that they were doing the Brimfield town-wide flea market and all that stuff. So,
I've never been.
Oh, dude, it was awesome. And Derek was telling me about all the great sourcing in New England and stuff. So, like, we went to, like, every single New England state. Like, we went to the bins in New Hampshire, and we went all over that week, man. It was amazing.
Yeah. You found the good guy. His parent. Did you meet his parents?
I met his dad. I didn't.
His dad's cool. His dad's an ex-firefighter. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was definitely a good time.
So that shows you guys it's a small world, because we didn't talk about this before we started this. And when he said Seekonk, that's like somebody telling you what color socks you have on today.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Out of all the flea markets that you could have said, that's and you know Seekonk, but you don't know Carlisle. And Carlisle, that's the one I need you to look up when we finish this live. Carlisle, they have a lot of meets there. It's at the fairgrounds, I believe. Okay. And they have, like I was telling you and everyone else, they have swap meet for firefighters. They have swap meet for guns. They at that place in Carlisle, they have a lot. They probably have like 15 swap meets a year for all different kinds. And how far are you from Carlisle? Do you know?
Carlisle, about 3 hours.
About 3 hours, yeah. I figured that because it's on the other side. Mm-hmm. But it's worth it if you knew you were going to go there and source all day or for the weekend.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Absolutely. I'll definitely look that up. I'm always looking for, different places like that to get out and just to spread my wings a little bit, because I go to the same places over and over again throughout the month, and it gets to the point where it's like, how many times can I hit the same Goodwill without finding the exact same stuff? You know what I mean?
And that's why I like to jump around.
That's really smart, man, because it was like I could literally go around Pittsburgh every day out of the week and not find half the stuff I found in New England that 1 week I was there. It was insane, the amount of stuff I found. And I want to say thank you for all the content that you put out between flea markets and doing the storage units and with me. And, you're not even afraid to talk to the bigger channels like Jeremy and George and, all those guys up there. And that way, like, I appreciate it as well for you doing that and not being afraid. My pleasure, man. I appreciate you consuming any of the content that I do. That's definitely awesome. So as far as tools go, like I know you're like the go-to guy that I know of when it comes to tools. How did you get into tools? And for somebody like me, like I wouldn't even know what the heck I'm doing. Yeah. So like for a guy like me who doesn't know anything about tools, but I find them in storage units all the time. You know what I mean? Or if I'm digging through bins or stuff like that, I come across tools, and literally all I know to do with them is I'll take them to the flea market and sell them for like $1 or $2. But I never know, like, did I just screw up there? Because I know sometimes you can find a tool, and even if it looks like old and maybe even rusty, sometimes they could have value because, it's a tool that might not be made anymore. Something. For me, it's like not knowing enough about them. How do you really tell like what's a good tool and what's just like a average tool that's not worth much? I'm gonna say this, and not sarcastically, but it would be the same way by me asking you how to know about baseball cards. You guys, we both do a lot of research in our niche. Yeah. So you just do the research in your niche. You're good at with the baseball cards, and what places to get good packs and when certain stores put stuff out. If you just put a little bit of time, a little bit of effort into the tools, you'll figure it out. And if you go to a yard sale, pick stuff up that you have no idea what it is. I have this item here that I picked up yesterday, and trust me, I have no idea what it is. It's some kind of a clamp. I looked it up. I paid $4 for it, and it's worth it. I cleaned it up with some of my tools. So I cleaned it up with a wire brush, and it's worth like $25. But the experience of being able to look it up, put myself outside of that box and being able to look it up,
that was worth the $5. Even if I didn't make anything on it, I got to learn. Because then when I looked up this company, I saw 7 other things that they make that are worth really good money. So now I have that in the back of my head. Oh, okay, I might not make any money off of that, but that one item has different stuff. And I did want to say, if you don't mind, like you said about tools, how do I know about tools? And there is so many things. There's so many different niches. People do a lot of power tools and hand tools or wood planes or files or machinist tools. Here's one that it does very well, and it's chargers.
Oh, wow.
And you go to a yard sale and they have chargers that don't have any tool with them, you're paying $5 for them. Most chargers, like a real charger, is going to sell for at least $15.
Nice.
So you're going to make $10 on it right off the jump. And this name here, I looked it up, and the tool for this is like a $300-$400 tool.
Wow.
And I would have never knew that if I didn't pick up the charger and just took that gamble. So you guys gotta that you're making good money, so you gotta reach outside your comfort zone and buy something that you don't know if it's $5, because the knowledge that you're gonna get off of that item is worth the $5-$10.
Yeah, I never even would have thought of the chargers, but yeah, that makes sense, because if I'm in the bins or for example, and I get like a laptop charger or something like that, even if it's an older laptop, normally I'll still grab it because it's cheap and because somebody's going to buy it, because somebody's going to need it. They might have that laptop and not have the charger. The charger might die, but yeah, that's a great item to pick up, and that's one that I wouldn't even really think of.
Yeah, and you definitely, you'll get to learn. Okay, so you don't know what that charger's for. Like, you have no idea, like that one tool, that one charger I just showed you. I didn't know. Yeah. I've seen that company. It's not DeWalt or anything that I normally see. And it was actually for a good tool that's worth decent money. So, and I learned more about that tool just by looking up that charger. So I might not make anything on that charger. I might sell that charger for $8 and bought it for $5. But the knowledge that I got off of that charger is worth a lot more than $2.
Oh yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And that's something I never really thought of either, because sometimes I'll be, if I have an opportunity, like say I'm at the bins or whatnot, and I'm comping stuff, and it's like, well, that doesn't really sell for that much. I'm just going to throw it back and not, really waste my time on it. But yeah, I never even really thought of it that way. Like the education that you would get from something, having to learn about it so that you can properly list it, you know what I mean, and get it to the person that actually wants it. So yeah, that's really
it's like baseball cards. It's like if you're looking up baseball cards, a lot of times you'll look up, back when I was collecting them, and there's a million of them, but back in the 90s you would look up baseball cards, a lot of the hoops and skybox and stuff like that. You gotta, when you type in set, and then you're gonna see the inner sets inside that set that are worth all the money. So the skybox aren't worth anything right now, but there might be an inner set that was 5 cards that have Sean Kemp in it or something like that you can get good money off of. So
definitely,
it's not that one item that you're looking up. You need to open up your surrounding and see what else is inside of that one item.
That's true.
So a charger, well, what is that charger using? That charger is for a screw gun that automatically screws the screw in with the screw holder. Okay, also that company, I've never heard of that company. Oh, that company also makes a lot of other construction stuff.
Yep.
And, look through the comps and just put that in. You're not going to remember it all, but, you're going to remember what you need to remember.
Definitely. Yeah, and I guess just going in that same vein, one thing I learned a lot from Derek as well while I was down there in Rhode Island was parts as well. Like specifically with him, it was like toy parts, like vintage toy parts to G.I. Joes or whatever. Like we were down in the bins, they're pulling out like Voltron parts. Yep. And I had one Voltron part that I got like $80 for, and it wasn't even complete.
Nope.
And it's like, it's crazy to think that there's people out there buying broken stuff because they need the parts off of it. And the Voltron thing that the guy bought off of me, he probably had the other part that was needed already, and then it goes from being like an $80 piece to like a $400 piece,
I buy like weed whackers and blowers and a lot of stuff like that. I'll buy broken ones and I'll buy it for $5 and I'll piece it out for $120.
That's awesome.
Take the handle off, $15. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll just play around. Everything's $10. So this handle's $10. This hose is $10. This is $10. This is $10. Before I know, I'm like, holy moly! I just pulled 9 pieces off this. The big pieces I threw away, and I've made good money on something that I paid $5 for in pieces.
That's awesome.
And like I say to everyone, I grew up in a throwaway society, not society, but in a throwaway part of the country where everything's thrown away. But down here, now that I live in South Carolina, I realize like they don't throw everything away. Like I was helping my buddy today and he's saving screws. I don't save screws. I go buy screws. I don't save wood. I go buy wood. Like I don't got time for that. But when you live in a more lower income area, you know, up in New England, I mean, minimum wages, I know it's above $12 an hour. And down here, I think it's still $8, you know, so it's different than a lot of people. People don't realize that you could take stuff apart and, like you said, and still sometimes make more money than you would if it was together.
I've been doing that every so often. I haven't in a while. I have like 4 or 5 computers I need to rip to pieces. But yeah, that's one thing I've noticed. You can take a laptop that you might be able to sell for $30 or $40 for parts on eBay. And then once you rip it apart and you have all the parts, it might go from $30-$40 to, you know, $200-$300 pretty easily. So one thing I wanted to ask you about too is Instagram and what you're doing over there. I would consider you to be a content creator for Instagram. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, what is your goal with Instagram? Where do you see that going just as a platform? And do you plan to use that to kind of help you as far as growing your sales or anything like that in the future?
Thank you. Those are very good questions. I'm actually using it for training for YouTube. I use it so I'm not camera shy, so I can make all my mistakes on that smaller platform. You know, not saying nobody's going to realize it, but it's you can make those mistakes and you can learn from because it's shorter videos, it's shorter clips, and you get a bigger turnaround quicker, I think, on Instagram. And you know, you still get to contact people, and now it's a big, huge messaging platform as well. My goal is to try to get 1,000 by the end of January. Right now I have about 600 followers.
Yeah, so you were at 661 whenever I went to grab your link. So that's awesome, man. Yeah.
And I've only been, I just started, like really started it on about 3 months ago. That's when I like really started, you know, and I try at least to put something on at least 5 days a week. Sometimes it's twice. And even if it's just like today, I put one on a big mess up that I made, something that I could have made good money on. And I just took a gamble and I lost money.
It's good to see that kind of stuff too, though, because you know, normally what most people show is the highlight reel, and they don't show like, hey, sometimes I miss a shot. You know, I think that's refreshing to see, though, you know, that, you know, you're human, you make mistakes, and it'll help somebody else not make that mistake in the future.
Yeah, and you can't be afraid. And just like what I try to do is I try to make every one of my interviews. I mean, as you guys know, I've been doing a lot of interviews lately. That's sort of why I have a big following and I don't have content, because I do a lot of interviews and I try to make them all different. And I try to give each contact creator that I'm interviewing with, I try to give them something that I haven't gave the next channel. Eventually, it's going to all blend in, but I do try to make it different. You know, it's better for me. It helps my mind and me, you know, not sound like a robot.
I've definitely enjoyed your interviews, too. I think I've seen every one you've done so far.
Thank you so much.
You know, getting to do one on here now too, so that's
yeah. I think I started my first one was with probably one of the biggest guys we have right now, which is Josh Tornado.
Yep.
That was the first person that I actually met him in person. He came to my warehouse and we hung out for the day and stuff, and then it just sort of blew up from there.
That's awesome. I had the pleasure of interviewing Josh once on the morning show, not Ecom Beyond, but before we were doing that, when it was me, Nate, and Tommy, we were doing the Entrepreneur Show. I just sold a Pokemon card. When it was all three of us doing the morning show, that was when we had Josh on. It was pretty cool. He actually gave us a lot of advice that we implemented to actually make the show into what Ecom and Beyond would become. So yeah, he was a really cool guy.
Yeah, and there's a lot of guys out there that are willing to help us. Just like, you know, like I said, one of my idols is actually Jeremy and George, and that guy is brilliant.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If you guys can see on the other side, I've never met him, but I know what he is about. And if you guys see on the outside of the skits, and you know, not saying that they're skits, but on, you know, what the way he does it, the humor and stuff, if you guys see the other side of that and see that guy's business aspect, if we all could just take a little bit of that, we'd be amazing.
Oh, heck yeah. And just from experience, like he is brilliant, man. Like I've had the opportunity to pick his brain about YouTube and
he does it all like he doesn't even use his laptop, he uses his phone for everything.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, just the tips he gave me helped me even take YouTube to another level, which I'm nowhere near where I need to be. But I mean, the fact that somebody, they have 250,000 subscribers and they care enough to talk to like little guys. And
like people have told me, growing up to be an adult, you need mentors. A mentor is going to help build you. A mentor is going to tell you what they've done wrong, what they've done right, because they want to build you. They don't want you to fall. They're not just using you because they want to know how to get 5,000 subscribers, how to sell tools better than that person. Like they don't want to do that. They want to build you. And that's what I base a lot of my stuff on now is I need mentors. I need people to build me.
That's really awesome, man. What would you say has been the best pickup that you've had of the year so far?
It was a computer laser for like industrial. So it was like a laser to stop the machine, and I had the whole program with it. And I bought my neighbor's stuff for $3,000 for everything, like a ton of stuff. And this one piece I sold in June for $3,500. There was like out of that lot of stuff that I bought, I probably had about 6 things that were over $350, and then like 3 or 4 things that were $250. Like there was money there.
That's a major come up, man. That's super cool.
And you sometimes you gotta like not be afraid to spend up a little bit. Like my comfort zone is like $10. But sometimes I'll buy something for 10 and it will be worth 40. It'll be worth 75, 80. And then sometimes I'll buy something for 10 and it will be worth not much. It just goes back into the flea market. I got the knowledge out of it.
So what would you say the best advice you've ever been given would be?
Don't give up. That's simple. Don't give up. I can make excuses. A lot of people know my story. I have slight learning disability, so it's a lot harder for me to do listings like some of these guys. Some of these guys can do 30 a day.
Yeah.
30 a day is really not my number. And I do it full time. That's not my number. I don't give up. And it's just like the flea markets. Like for some people, 5 tables is not. They could never do 5 tables. Like they're lucky if they could do 2. So where I'm weak, I'm strong in other things. So just the main thing is don't give up. Like I showed on my Instagram yesterday. On Friday night, I slept in my van.
Yeah, I saw that.
To get a spot. But why did I sleep in my van? Because I didn't give up. Because I said, I know I got to be there at 3 in the morning. I know I need to get a little bit of sleep because I'm going to be selling for 6 hours and I still got an hour drive home. I need my safety is important. So I need to get a little bit of shut eye. So, that I didn't give up. I just went and, sometimes you go to these auctions or, you go to an auctioneer that, like we were saying in the beginning of the show, guys, you go to some of these auctioneers and some of these estate sales. You're not going to like them in the beginning. He's not going to like open up to you and be your friend. He's going to throw the hammer down on you. He's going to make you pay for something. And as he sees your face and he sees you at the next auction and the next auction and you're spending money sometimes, you're not always the cheap guy. You're not going to, there's an item, it's worth $100 and it's worth $100 tomorrow. You won't spend 60 to make 40. You want to get it for 20 or 10. He knows what it's worth. They have people that look up this stuff. They have an idea what the stuff is. Don't give up. Don't try to get the best profit. Just get your foot in the door.
Yeah, I think that if you're able to get your foot in the door, you never know where you can go from there. Sometimes that's really all you need is just that contact or that easy in.
Even with a product, even with you with the baseball cards. I mean, do I really feel that you like looking up 30-cent cards? No, but you really love finding the $300 ones.
Definitely.
So what you do is you sometimes you got to go through 130-cent cards to get to one $40 card. And I do, before we end this podcast, I'd love to ask you a few questions if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
We're going to reverse the roles, guys. Here we go. Some of us know that you've been in wrestling, and some of us know that you're into ministry, and we know that you're a reseller and a good family person. If you had to, at that point, like which one would you say you've learned the most from? I mean, I know it's hard to say, but in certain aspects, like which one do you think that you learned a good amount from? I know it's hard to say. Well, he probably would say he should have took better care of his body because wrestling could hurt your bones and your back and stuff.
Definitely. And honestly, I feel like I've learned a lot from all of the different experiences I've had. Honestly, I don't know that I would have done the whole ministry thing if the wrestling thing hadn't happened first, because I was young, reckless, and I was going to go and run and gun one way or another. And if it wasn't for being in such a low place whenever I gave my life to the Lord, I don't know that I ever really would have changed myself around. You know what I mean? And then if it wasn't for the debilitating injury I had, like, I don't know if I would have went back to wrestling. And if I would have went back to wrestling, like, would I have have gone back to my old ways, or would I, still have continued following the Lord or whatnot? So I know that everything happens for a reason. And, if all the pain and everything I've gone through and continue to go through on a daily basis goes to like help one person, not have to experience what I've experienced, then, in my opinion, it's worth it, and I know God's able to redeem everything, like all the bad stuff. He's able to take all that pain and turn it into my purpose moving forward. And I really think that he continues to teach me lessons through those things even years later. And I think a lot of what I learned in wrestling and in ministry helped me with YouTube too, because I needed to learn how to present myself and how to amplify myself and stuff like that as well. So I definitely feel like I learned a lot from everything. I would say I probably learned the most from ministry, just because it was the most intensive on me, and I probably spent the most amount of time on that, more so than the other aspects of my life.
If there was a item in reselling that you could be an overnight sensation, like you can just be really good at something that you don't know anything about, what item would that be?
Honestly, it's something I don't even like, but it would probably be glassware, because the main reason is that is the most commented item I get in any of my videos when I'm out picking is, man, you walked by this, it was worth $100. Dude, you walked by that, it was worth, X amount of money. And like 90% of the time, it's a piece of glassware. And I've had people that have offered me clean out jobs, and literally it's like nothing but glassware. And it's like, yeah, I'm not doing it. And it's like, well, I should, because everywhere I go, I have such great access to glassware. It's just that I don't know anything about it. But I probably should force myself to start taking a look at this stuff eventually. Just kind of like you said, the number one way to learn tools is to research tools. I need to do the same with glass.
The last one. Where do you see yourself, like, YouTube wise in 3 years? Do you see yourself staying with this? Are you here to build a different channel and just a beginner channel? Where do you see yourself?
Honestly, like in 3 years, I would like to see the channel 5 to 10,000 subscribers. Could it be way bigger? Sure. Could it still be small? Sure. Yep. The way I look at it, I've been at a pace right now where I've grown close to 1,000 subscribers a year. So I think it could potentially get to the 5 to 10,000 mark by then. Ultimately, like I just want to continue to grow like relationships with people. You know what I mean? Because if it wasn't for YouTube, like I would have never met you. Me and Nate would have no idea who each other are. We live in the same city. So many of these awesome people that I've come to know and consider friends, and like things I've learned that have helped me make money in my business and everything like that I wouldn't have had without YouTube. So YouTube is going to remain a part of my life moving forward. Honestly, like just with the way my body is, and I've talked to my wife about this, eventually I would kind of like YouTube to become my job. It's like nowhere near that now, but it's going to be a lot easier for me to do YouTube in 10 years than it is going to be to clean out storage units and stuff like that. You know what I mean? With the physical limitations I have from wrestling, you know what I mean? So if I could somehow make this a bigger part of my future, I would like that. But if it isn't, then I'm okay with it being the way it is now, because I enjoy it, But if it can be something bigger, then praise the Lord. It gives me a bigger platform to make him famous.
Nice. And I said that was my last one, but I fibbed. What is this is how I became a Pittsburgh fan?
I was born in Pittsburgh. I mean, honestly, I've just always been a Steelers fan, just as long as I can remember. When I was a kid, my mom worked at a hospital called St. Margaret's Hospital in Pittsburgh. And before the Steelers had a practice facility where they did their own treatments and stuff, and they'd go to physical therapy and stuff like that, or the doctors, they'd go to the hospital my mom worked at. She worked in physical therapy. So as a kid, she'd always bring me in to meet the players and stuff like that. So
that's cool.
Like I was already a fan, but then getting to meet them like made me even more of a fan.
Did you get to meet Kevin Green?
No, he's one I didn't get to meet, unfortunately.
He was like the guy, one of the guys that got me, like, because I was started watching in the 90s. He's one of the guys who got me like into the Steelers.
I went to training camp when he was on the team, but I've never like actually met him or had a conversation with him. But so my mom was actually friends too with the athletic trainer for the Steelers as well. So when I was in high school, he told me to write a letter to them, and I actually got to be a ball boy for 4 seasons from 2000 to 2003. Dude, it was like the sweetest thing ever.
That was before wrestling.
Yeah, it was before wrestling.
That's cool. So you get to see the behind the scenes, and I love that kind of stuff.
Oh, dude, it was awesome. Go in the locker room, know the players personally, that kind of stuff. It was really awesome.
I've been there once. And I didn't even go to the game. I just went for my 40th birthday. It was amazing. I see the stadium from my hotel. You probably know which hotel it is. It was right across from the water memorial, I think it is.
Yeah, you're talking about Point, where it has like the big fountain that shoots up.
Yeah. If you like turn around, there's a hotel entrance right in front of that.
Yeah,
I stayed there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I could look out and see the stadium. It was amazing.
Yeah, I was gonna say that would actually not be too far behind like my head in the picture here.
Yeah,
the open end of the stadium.
It was right there. It was literally right there. I mean, I think once I looked out the window and realized it was right there, I think I walked over the 2 bridges and I was in the parking lot. When you grow up in New England in the era that I did, and they still are the most very conceited and very about them. And if you have something else that is not what they have, then they just automatically feel that they have the right to just down you. And that's not the type of person I am. So I am I get really angry when people they'll come up to you and just like, I don't know why you have that hat on. That hat's horrible. And I'm like, you didn't even ask me my name. Or I live there, and they're like, oh, where you from? And down here, they ask me in South Carolina, oh, you're from Pittsburgh? No, I've only been there once. But yeah, I've liked the Steelers my whole life. My Steelers story is my uncle and I were watching a game, and he said to me, I could stay up to halftime. I had to pick a team. So it was the Steelers. I was young. I was like 7. Yeah. It was the Steelers, and it might have been the Patriots. I don't know. It was like a playoff game or something. I don't think the Patriots were in playoffs at that time. But I picked the Steelers because they had the steel symbol. I remember seeing the steel symbol on the tuna cans when I was growing up. And some of the metal products, I remember seeing the steel symbol. So I was like, oh, I want that team. And then when they won, so I bet them $1, and I got to stay up till halftime. And then when I started liking football, like I said, Kevin Green, Greg Lloyd, and all those guys, I just got hooked.
Yep, that was pretty much a team I fell in love with as well.
Yep.
Whenever I really started liking football, when I was old enough to understand it fully, that was the team that was really hot, the early to mid 90s here. I do appreciate you taking the time out to do the interview with me and everything like that. Is there anything you would like the people that watch this to know or to check out?
Just keep following this guy. If you guys don't see the Bible study that he does, I believe it's still on Tuesdays. I'll make sure that you guys check that out. I want to say hi to Kelly on your show. And, I want to say hi to Nate. If you want to look me up on Instagram, I'm on Instagram, Blood, Sweat, Soul. And if you want to be part of the 70 people that don't see content on YouTube, feel free to join that crew. And there will be content soon.
Hey, guys, do me a favor. Definitely go check him out. Because as you've seen in this podcast, he knows his stuff. Super awesome guy. I'd highly recommend him to you. So I'd really appreciate it. You'd show him love and leave him some nice comments down below too. I'd appreciate that as well. See you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.